And hello, welcome to our first lesson in Algebra 1 in our digital classroom. So today we're going to study lesson 1, which is addition and subtraction of fractions, and then lines and segments. Let's get started. First of all, obviously, we have to be able to add and subtract fractions all day long. So we'll zoom over here a little bit. So we got 1/3 plus 2/5. All right, our first step is to make sure we have a common denominator. So obviously we have to make sure that 3 and 5 become the same number. How do I do that? Well, I find the least common multiple of 3 and 5. The easiest way to do this is to just multiply 3 and 5. When they're simple numbers like this, that works great. When they're a little bit more complicated, this can get you into a lot of trouble. But in this case, our least common multiple will be 15. So I'm going to multiply 3 by a number to get 15, which would be 5, and 1 by a number to get 15, which would be, 1 won't become 15. What am I saying? Anyways, 3 times 5 is 15, 1 times 5 is 5, okay? Not so much worried about the top being 15, but I am worried about the denominator being 15 so that I have a common denominator. Over here, I'm going to multiply by 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 3 is 15. Now I have the same denominator, I can add. Notice that I'm lining everything up so I can see what I'm doing. 5 plus 6 is 11 over 15. Box or circle your answer and you're all set. Let's try another one. Moving over here. All right, now we have something a little bit uglier. We have 13 and 3/5 plus 2 and 1/8. So your Algebra 1 textbook will be using mixed numbers, unfortunately. So we have to deal with that, okay? In addition, it's a little bit better because we don't have to worry about this number being larger than that one, but we still have to have a common denominator. So let's get a common denominator between 5 and 8. Again, if I think about 8s, I have 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. I'm basically going to have 40 as my common denominator anyways. So I'm going to multiply 5 by 8. But remember, you can only do something to a fraction if you do the same thing to the top and the bottom. So I'm going to multiply by 5 over here so I get 40. What does that leave me with? That leaves me with 13 and 24 40ths plus 2 and 5 40ths. Now, since this is addition, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the whole numbers. So 3 plus 2 is 15. And I'm going to add the fraction parts. 24 plus 5 is 29 over 40. Now, I'm going to check to make sure I can reduce this number. In this case, I cannot. So that is my answer. Sometimes you'll get a number greater than the denominator in the numerator. So let's say if this was 41 over 40, I would have to steal that 1 into the whole number. Let's look at another example, and maybe we'll have the chance to do that. Oh no, we're subtracting. No. All right, so subtracting fractions is much more painful because I have to still change them into fractions with the same denominator. There we go. We know what we're talking about. And then I'm going to subtract, okay? So first, I'm going to look at the fractions. 24 minus 5, that works out, so I'm not worried. But if this number was too small, I would have to borrow from the 13, okay? In this case, I don't have to. So what I'll do is I'll do 24 minus 5, which is 19, and 13 minus 2, which is 11. And that's my answer. Not too bad. Not too shabby today. All right. Let's try another one. Wow. Zooming over here. All right. This time, we are going to have to borrow. So we have 13 and 3/5 minus 2 and 7/8. So first step again, find the least common multiple of 5 and 8. What number do they both go into? That would be 40. So I'm going to multiply this by 8 on the top and bottom. I'm going to multiply this by 5 on the top and bottom. Showing my work, working vertically down, I have 13 and 24 40ths minus 2 and 35 40ths. Now here's where we face our first challenge. 24 minus 35 is a negative number. So I'm going to have to borrow from the 13. So if I take 1 away, I'm left with 12. So I'll have 12 here. But if I put it into the fraction, remember 1 would be 40 over 40. So over here, let's do a little bit of thinking. I have 40 over 40 plus 24 over 40. So that would be 60 over 40. I don't know why I put that line there. Okay, so this is 1, the one that I borrowed here. I add it to my fraction to get the total. So this is 60 over 40 minus 2 35 over 40s. Now I can subtract the fractions first, which is what I want to do. 60 minus 35 is 25. 12 minus 2 is 10. I'm going to check my answer to make sure this number is not bigger than the denominator. Otherwise, I have to give back to the whole number. Otherwise, we are good to go. So that is adding and subtracting fractions. You always have to keep an eye out for this number being bigger than that number and make sure that you can do that because we're not quite at that point yet where we want to deal with negative numbers and negative fractions. All right, the next part of our lesson is about lines and line segments. So let's cruise over here. You guys have seen lines before and you've seen line segments before. So this is an example of a line. This is an example of a line segment. The defining point or part of a line segment is that it has two defined endpoints rather than a line that goes on forever. So what they're going to do is they're going to give you some measurements here. So in this case, they say that AC measures 10 and, wow, my eyes are getting old. 10 and 1/4. So that means this distance is 10 and 1/4. And they tell us that AB measures 4 and 3/7. So this is 4 and 3/7. This whole thing is 10 and 1/4. And they want to know what is the distance or what is the measurement of BC. Well, the way we're going to do this, and you can see it visually, is we're going to take this whole length and we're going to subtract off this part. So what are we left with? We're left with BC. How is that going to look like in a math expression? Well, I'm going to say that the length of BC equals the length of AC minus the length of AB. I want you to write it out this way so that I can tell that you understand what you're doing. Next, I'm going to plug in. So AC is 10 and 1/4. AB is 4 and 3/7. And now I'm going to do the exact same procedure that we did before. I need a common denominator. In this case, 4 and 7 go into 28. So it looks like I'm going to multiply this one by 7 and this one by 4. Actually, I'm going to do it up here so that you guys can see better. Because seeing is believing? No, we don't believe that, right? The Bible said that if you don't see, it's better for those, Jesus said, right, to Timothy, it's better for those who don't see but still believe. It's that whole faith aspect, right? But I think in learning, you need to see it. Anyway, so we have 10 and 1/4. That's much better. And 4 and 3/7. So I need a common denominator. I'm going to multiply this by 7 on the top and bottom. Multiply this by 4 on the top and bottom. So now I have 10 and 7/24 minus 4 and 12/24. Now 7 is too small to subtract 12, so I have to borrow from the 10. If I borrow 1, that's the same as 24/24. So I'm going to add over here off to the side. Just showing my work, but over here, I'm adding 24/24 because I borrowed 1 here. So when I do that, I get 31/24. Okay, you guys see that all right? It's a little funky. All right, so I'm going to bring that back. I have 9 and 31/24 minus 4 and 12/24. Now that I subtract them, I will subtract the fractions first. 31 minus 12 is 19, if I'm not mistaken. So 19 over 24, and then I subtract the whole numbers. 9 minus 4 is 5. So that is your math lesson for today. I hope that you were blessed by it, and I hope you have a great time doing your very first problem set of Algebra 1. God bless.